Well, first day I got kicked out.
My agent called and said, "Hey, Cubs just selected you." I was like, "Yeah, I just saw it." So we used to have to look on the internet.
Yeah. We never seen a paper nail. I didn't know if it was nails in it or not.
Got me chills with that. Wow. What?
Did you even think you were going to make the team?
No.
Jersey doesn't really fit me. There's no name on my jersey.
Hi again, everybody, and welcome to the Let's Rain podcast presented by Cincy Light, Cincinnati's light beer. And don't forget, every Cincy Light you purchase, whether it's in a can, at the arena, at a tailgate, at a bar, every single one benefits Bearcat Athletics. I'm Dan Hoard inside the LLH Healthcare Studio, and on this episode of the podcast, I'm going to catch up with a Bearcats legend, basketball star Gary Clark, now playing professionally in Japan. Despite the 14-hour time difference, he's kind enough to join us on this episode of the podcast. I'm sure you're going to like it, and after you watch, don't forget to rate, like, and subscribe. Now, here's a reminder that life is a small word with a lot going on. The University of Cincinnati's online programs are built to fit in the life that you're already living. Along the way, support is available when you need it, and you'll be part of a Bearcat community that stays connected after graduation. Learn more at online.uc.edu. It is so great to be able to say konnichiwa to our guest, a Bearcat legend now playing professional basketball in Japan. He was the American Athletic Conference Player of the Year and an All-American as a senior. Of course, I am speaking of Gary Clark. So, Gary, here's my first question for you. Have you learned how to say the problem in Japanese?
No, I have not. That's actually hilarious. I haven't asked any of the guys yet about that one. That hasn't really taken on over here. I think they're more thrilled about calling me GC.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
I visited Japan about 20 years ago. I went to Tokyo and Kyoto. I loved it. It was a tremendous place to visit, but that's very different from living in Japan. What's the experience been like for you?
Uh, I mean, it's been pretty cool. It's one place that I've always wanted to visit. I visited once when I was in the NBA. We actually came over with the Rockets for like a week and a half, and it really wasn't much exploring to do because we were just a bunch of basketball stuff. But so far, for year two, it's been pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. Just how advanced they are, how intentional they are with and efficient they are with pretty much everything. The food has been incredible, and the people are just so kind and helpful. So there's not much of a language barrier as I thought it was going to be. So far it's been great. Honestly, I really enjoyed my time here. I find a new food spot just about every once a month.
You can always find somebody that speaks English just about anywhere in the world, I think. But when you're playing professional basketball, does the coach speak English? Do you have to have a translator for the X's and O's? How does that work?
So for my team, we actually have he's from Finland, so he speaks English. So he speaks English, and our team translator interprets it in Japanese. So I got the better end of that when it comes to playing overseas. So it's pretty cool. It hasn't been as hard as I would imagine when I was first going overseas, going to a country like Japan, but it's been very, very easy so far.
How often do you get back to the U.S.?
Usually once a year. Last year I actually went back twice. Um, to propose in November, and then the second time in February. This year I went home in November for my birthday and Thanksgiving, and now I'll just be here until the remainder of the season.
All right. I know our viewers are dying to hear you talk about your days as a Bearcat. So let's go back to the beginning. You're from Clayton, North Carolina, basically right next to Raleigh, and Larry Davis recruited you hard. How hard?
Uh, what's funny is I remember coach coming to watch me play, but it was during the summer. I want to say of my sophomore year, And I had just had like one of those like sophomore years where I think from the end of my freshman year up until the end of my sophomore year, I probably went from 0 offers to like 15, 10 offers. So when he came to visit, we were in the summertime and we were just kind of playing pickup. Like he couldn't watch any games. Like it was just playing pickup in the summers. So, I don't think I was really taking it that serious, being one of the better players on our team. And he told Coach Mellon that I would my high school coach at the time that I wasn't playing hard enough. And at that point, I'm like, Coach, it's pickup. But okay, I had my mind wasn't set on Cincinnati, but it got my attention to where I was like, it was on my radar, like, because at that point I was chasing as many scholarships I could get. Like that was the thing. Just hoop and just get as many as you can. So going into my junior year, I kind of took it up a notch, training outside, doing a bunch of stuff. Like I'm like, when this going into AAU, Coach Larry came and watched me again, and he still said the same thing. You're not playing hard enough. So now I'm like a little ticked off. Like I'm like, who is this guy? Like, I don't even know if I knew Coach Cronin was the head coach, but I'm like, who is this guy that is refusing to offer me? Um, and so by the end of my junior year, or not middle, I started training like a madman, and by the time he came and watched me, or maybe it was my junior year. I think or my senior year, I had a quadruple double as well that year. So he pushed me to a whole nother level of just conditioning and just being in elite shape. So that's where my career kind of went a different route after we had those conversations. And when I went and visited, they were just very honest with me about my role, my identity as a basketball player. And it was like nobody has said anything. Everybody just told me how much fun I would have in college, or, try to like put shiny objects of, nice apartment and, uh, the nice arenas and all that stuff. And I was just like, that none of that matters. Like these guys have just helped me become one of the best basketball players out of North Carolina by just making me flip a switch.
So by telling you right from the very beginning, you're not playing hard enough, that motivated you, obviously. And it actually really makes sense for why you had so much success at Cincinnati, because you were going to be pushed here every day for 4 years, and that's what you wanted.
Yeah, that's what my high school coach, we had a long conversation. I was like, that's the only school that was honest with me about now and when I get there.
So you came in and started every game your freshman year. Was that a surprise?
Yeah. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Uh, you know, Going into college, I didn't know anyone, so I was like blind. I knew Quadri Moore at the time coming in because we played against each other once or twice, but everyone else, I had no idea who these guys were. I didn't know what expectations to set. I just knew like I'm gonna come in here and just be the best I can be, and hopefully we'll see what happens. And pretty much right away, that same thing that Coach Larry Davis kind of the same message was just like play hard. I don't care if you make a shot. I don't care if you anything. And I just was get every rebound. And that was really how I just started my career. It was just like I didn't do anything in practice besides rebound the ball. And that went on and on throughout all the just summer workouts and then in preseason. And that was just kind of like how I started. I just outplayed everyone. And I didn't even know that was really Coach Cronin's like, that's what he loved, was somebody who played his hard. And when I started those first couple games, even the game I started, I was like, my first game preseason, I was like, wow, I'm really starting. I couldn't believe it.
Did you have a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde experience with Coach Cronin, where the first time you met, he was very nice and mild-mannered, and then you get into the practice gym and he flips?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like over the phone, when he recruited me, when we talked, he was cool. Well, my family came up to drop me off, or my mom on my visit, he was amazing. And then we went to dropped me off for my freshman year we were good, but then that summer we were able to go to those the Bahamas. Every 4 years teams get to travel, and we had those 10 legal practices, and that's where it just kind of I was on campus maybe for a month, and then I seen it for the first time, and I was like, oh my goodness. I remember calling home to my mom like, I don't know what I got myself into.
So he is a bundle of nerves, perpetually on edge, and you are very calm most of the time. How much do you think that helped the entire team, that you had that calming presence?
Uh, I think definitely later on in my career, it helped. Really pretty much after my sophomore year, I think I was like the first person that really started to understand Coach Cronin, and like his actions and his demeanor isn't personal. He just had a hard time really like communicating in intense moments, and once I realized that, I think a lot of the guys kind of picked up that how much I didn't let it bother me, and also like the calmness of me. A lot of times I didn't say much, but I think it went a long way with a lot of guys on our team, especially as I got older, of just knowing what coach wanted and just setting the tone.
I had forgotten, honestly, until I looked it up before we connected on this interview, that your freshman year was the year that he missed most of the season when he had the health issue with his brain. What was that like for you? You come in as a freshman, you expect to play for this guy, and in December, you wind up playing for somebody completely different.
Uh, it kind of threw a wild loop because we spent those summer practices together. And then going into preseason, it was so intense. I mean, we were getting after it, I'm sure you can imagine and have seen. And then, my the one preseason game he was a part of, or two, it was against Bellarmine, who plays hard, moves the ball, and I guess he had mentioned to the Bellarmine's coach how much I rebound. So that was their main scout, was to keep me off the glass, and I think I had maybe 2 rebounds or something. He came in the locker room like just losing his mind on me and Savino, because Savino's been just raving all preseason about how much I rebound the ball, and I only had 2. So, we won the game, and I mean, he just let me have it. Uh, so then after that was the VCU game where he came in and he let us know that he wasn't going to be coaching. And it just kind of, we kind of like all pulled together, for him, but also for Coach Larry Davis, who, recruited me personally. So um, it was a wild amount of emotions, but I think Coach was very honest. Like, this isn't an excuse for anybody to, take the year off. So we kind of really got after it. And I think Coach Larry Davis was a little calmer. So, you know, it, I wouldn't say it changed the dynamic as a freshman. Coach's intensity versus Coach Larry. Coach Larry was no slouch at all when it came to how far he was from Cronin's intensity. But it definitely changed the dynamic as a freshman. So it was crazy. It was crazy, honestly.
Turned out to be a great year. Went to the NCAA tournament, beat Purdue in overtime in round 1, gave Kentucky, a great Kentucky team, a decent game in round 2. What kind of a bar did that set for you to have that kind of freshman year, and now you've got 3 seasons left with high hopes of making long NCAA tournament runs?
I think honestly for myself, I just realized like, okay, with everything we dealt with this year, we got most of our guys returning back next year. Like, we could really go for a run next season. Hope at that point, hoping coach is going to be back. So it was just like I mean, the sky was the limit at that point for me in my mind. I knew what it took. I just started every game my freshman year, so I was experienced. I was excited. I knew what to expect. So it was just kind of like I was excited, and I ended up, next year I ended up having, a great sophomore year, and it all, until I rolled my ankle. But it was like almost like everything was just kind of, it was like this build up that was happening each season. Um, After that, the bar was set for my freshman year.
How bad was that ankle injury? Because you never talked about it. I would see you with Bob Mangine getting all this treatment before games, but that wasn't one of those things that anybody ever heard you complain about.
Uh, it was so tragic because we were all pumped up. We were having a great season, and we were practicing. The practice was about to end. It was like one of those, like, not nonchalant practices, because those don't exist with Coach Cronin, but it was just one of those practices where we were down to the end and we were ready to make a run. And I just stepped on Jacob Evans' foot, and it swelled up pretty bad. But me and Rob Williams, rest in peace to Rob Williams, but he we stayed up all night before the UConn game. Him giving me treatment. I mean, from midnight, it was like every hour on the hour from 12 a.m. He would let me sleep for 30, 45 minutes. I would get it sleep, and he'd be in my room, icing and massaging. And I mean, on every other hour, every 30 minutes, we were up. And then finally by like 5:30 a.m., 6, because coach wanted to know, like, immediately, like, am I going to be able to go against UConn that day? And we finally got me down to like where I can kind of hop on this bum ankle that I just rolled. It was just magic. I honestly, I don't know how we got it to that point, but we got it down, and I ended up going to go play, and 4 overtimes didn't do it any justice at all. I think I caused more damage playing on it that day than I would have if I would have just set out. So I think we all agree. I think all of us agreed that that game alone got us into the tournament. So after that, try to do as much rehab as I could, and then we had to go over to Spokane, and it was like a prolonged situation that just kind of never got better. And over the summer, it kind of got better, but it never was the same. And then my junior year, I played on it. And I told Bob and Rob, I was like, man, there's no way I'll have a career after I leave Cincinnati if I don't have surgery on this foot. And, we saw Colosimo, and we made a decision to have the surgery. And then we ended up going through, some rehab and stuff, but I'd missed so much. I think everyone was excited for me to be back. So it was kind of like, I came back, I got out of the cast, out of the boot, and, did a little rehab here and there, and I was right back in the fire of things. So I didn't really, the NBA treated it as like I was still injured. So like it shocked me, because I'm like, what do you mean? I just won all these accolades this year on this same ankle. It was like, no, your ankle is injured. You need to sit out for a bit. So, yeah, it was nothing I really talked about, because I didn't want to make any excuse. And, I was just wired like that with Coach Cronin. But my last 2 seasons was pretty much I played with a bum ankle.
All right, let's talk about some especially memorable games. Conference tournament in Hartford against UConn. You have a front tooth knocked out. You scored 25 points. The Bearcats win. How pissed off were you when they knocked out your tooth?
Honestly, I wasn't as mad the first time, because I found it. Like, right when it happened, I looked down and I found it. And I was like, okay, this, I know they can do something with this. But then it happened again a couple weeks later in practice from Farad Cobb, and I was livid at that point. Like, I was, and they had told me to wear a mouth guard, and I was just like, I can't. Cronin wants me to talk. There's no way I could talk with these mouth guards. It's either I'd rather talk and get my tooth knocked out than get yelled at for not talking. So that's how that went.
What's the status of that tooth? Do you have a
Oh,
fake one now?
yeah, it's still the same. It's been knocked out 2 more times since there, so it's been a total of 4 times that this has been. It's not even a tooth anymore. It's like it's a fake tooth, half fake tooth. So we're still no knock mouth guard. We don't take as much contact as I get older. I find ways to keep my mouth away from. As you see, I have a busted lip right now from like a couple days ago. So I'm surprised tooth stayed in.
Remind me the first time when you found the tooth. Who was the poor person on the bench that it was handed to that had to sit there
Savino,
for a while? Who was it?
Savino,
Darren Savino,
yeah, Coach Savino.
the tooth holder.
Yeah. I was just like, I came over and ran to him because I think he was up talking to talking to me and I think another big, maybe Coriante or somebody. And I was just like, can you take this, please?
Hold this tooth for a while. I'm going to need it later. All right, let's go to your senior year. You beat Houston in the conference championship game the first time during your years as a Bearcat, where Cincinnati won the conference postseason tournament. 20 points, 12 rebounds in the game-winning free throw with 4 seconds to go. Was that like the single best game for you in your Bearcat career? You obviously played in a bunch.
Uh, I it would probably be up there, honestly. I can't think of many other games that I would say trumps that one. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one. That would, now that I think about it, I would say that one. There was a couple other dog fights that I enjoyed, between UConn and SMU. We had an SMU game that was pretty crazy at home. I think they were ranked like top 10 with Semi Ojale and a couple other guys. And I think that one could be up top with that one.
A home game at NKU, was that? Was that when you guys were playing your home games at NKU that year?
Uh
I don't recall.
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Well, that conference championship game against Houston was awesome. Final score was 55-53. I mean, those were two teams that got after it. It wasn't the most entertaining basketball necessarily, but if you like all-out war, that was about as good as it gets.
Yeah. No, that one was pretty fun. That was, and then it was brutal for them because I'm still friends with Rob Gray and the other guard that had that brutal turnover at the end. It's just heartbreaking that you don't even get a shot up to decide the game. It's just like our ball on the other end.
All right, so those are two great victories for the Bearcats. Let's talk about the last game of your college career. The NCAA tournament loss to Nevada. Does it still
Mm,
hurt?
mm. Uh, it stings a little bit only because I'm like I grew up really good friends with the Martin brothers. And like we still see each other like every summer. Like we spend a lot of time together, fishing and just we see each other at least 3 times a summer. And we have the same trainer, and our little group of guys we have the same group, and that's one thing we never talk about. We're always around each
That's
other,
nice
and we
of
just
them.
never talk about it. So, um, I think it's almost like just understood. It's probably one of the hardest games I had to be a part of. Um, but yeah.
Well, it's nice of them, not to taunt you about it. That's
Oh,
that's a sign of good friendship.
yeah, no, those are my guys. Those are my guys. Because I got there, you know, we beat them when they were in NC State, my freshman year at NC State. And that was kind of like, they wanted their payback, in Nevada. And it was what a way to get your payback against Cincinnati.
Mm. You were 31 and 4 at the you were 31 and 4 at the time, tied the school record for wins in a season. What happened? What happened in the last 11 minutes? I've never heard your take on what went wrong down the stretch of that game.
Uh, I think March Madness, you see it every year. You just, you're aware of it before you go in a game. And, it's it's almost like the last shot. You know, a lot of people have had that last shot opportunity at, winning a game, and nobody talks about what you feel like before. There's like all this doubt, all this anticipation. And I think if I make it, great. But if I lose, if I miss it, then it's like brutal. And I think our whole team dynamic after they went on that run turned to that, like, we may lose this game. And like, what does that look like?
Mm.
Are we a part of March Madness now? And we could never get our mind. I don't think we had anybody on our team that could like will pull us back together, and we all like they threw like a funky defense at us. I think they start running a box and one on Jacob, and Jacob, like, I think Jacob had like 8 points or something like that. He was just our point guard. So like our offense just couldn't run anymore. And then I think Jaren got in foul trouble. And coach, like, he picked up his second foul and promised coach he wasn't gonna foul again, and came in and fouled right away. So it just messed up our whole momentum to where we couldn't play Jaren again until, I think like 6 minutes into that, that was falling apart, and he had it going that game. So yeah, I think a bit of March Madness, a bit of just, them throwing the funky defense at us. But also, I mean, I would love to know the stat on made threes in, March Madness, because I think they could have easily broken the record on how many threes they made down that stretch in a half. So I think it was a bit of all that. It's just, bittersweet to go out like that with such a record. But all those guys, we something again. I don't think none of us talk about it. I think we talked about it, briefly before graduation, but it's something that when I see those guys, we don't even talk about it.
And I forget which Martin brother is which, but the one who was not a great outside shooter couldn't miss threes down the stretch in that game.
Yep.
So, like you said, that's March Madness.
It was March Madness. It was their day. And you say, hey, it is what it is. You respect, pat them on the back, but I think everyone knows, out of 3 games, if it was a series or something like that, then, we would have handled our business. But, they had it that day. So, we just tilt our hats to them and just move on.
And then, as fate would have it, in that bracket, Loyola winds up going to the Final Four. Did that make it worse with each successive round?
Oh, yeah. It was brutal, because not that you saw an easy road to the Final Four, but if you after being battle tested, for the last 2 years with that group of guys we had, Jacob on, coming back, you had Kyle Washington, just a bunch of dogs that were already battle tested, that we knew that this was the year that we were going to win a national championship, or we were going to have the story that seals this season off, like, for the record books in Cincinnati history. So it definitely made it a little bit, a little hard after the fact once you watched it out. I don't even think I watched anymore. I thought after we lost, I was like, yeah, I'm not watching any of this.
All right, let's move on. For the most of the next 4 years, you were in the NBA. What was your welcome to the NBA moment?
Probably honestly, I think again with Damian Lillard against Portland. Portland came to Houston, and Houston, we switched everything. Like, everybody just guards everybody. So, I was prepared for 4-man, like, the fours, fives, even with some wings. There was some reason I got stuck on Dame, and he was like on a heater. So like I'm running back, and I realized I have him in transition, and he like fake cuts back door, and like I mean, my reaction was just like so intense. Dame just started dying laughing at me in the corner. And and I'm just like, and then he ends up coming out and getting the ball and scoring. But like mid game is an all-star. Like he did barely backdoor. He just flinched. And in my reaction, I may have done a 360, like just trying to like be ready because the scout report was just all about Dame, and I respected Dame so much that he just flinched and just started dying laughing at me. That was my moment.
I have to search YouTube to see if that's up there. Did
Yeah.
Chris Paul really buy you a car your rookie year?
Yes, he did. He did. It was crazy because I was on the two-way. So from at the pre-draft in the June, I had to report like June 25th or something like that to Houston. And we did pre-draft and I didn't get to play because they said my bum ankle, so they shut me down. So I was just in Vegas doing rehab and stuff. But from June 25th all the way up until November 16th, my birthday, I was in the hotel. I was living in the hotel. And, coming in that hotel, they made me check out when we'd go on away games. So like I had to bring all my life and put it at the arena.
Hmm.
So, CP started seeing how much I had going on. So he like let me borrow, his Jeep. I think it was just Manny's Jeep or something. So I drove it for a couple months. And then, he asked like his cousin who is my age, it was time for my contract was going to get converted and everyone kind of knew. So he asked me, he's like, what do you want to get a car? Because he's like, his cousin, he's like, yo, Gary, CP was like, Gary, I'm gonna let my cousin help you get everything situated. You let him know, we have people everywhere in Houston. So he said, what kind of car do you want to lease? And I was like, I sent him the car I like, but I was like, I'm okay with anything, honestly. I just want to, give him back his deep. And we went to my birthday dinner. It was my mom, my little brother, my financial advisor at the time, my cousin. And we finished dinner. We go out to the valet, and this car is like being backed out. And people was my sister, my mom and them are like got their phones out. I'm just like, I'm playing my little brother. Me and him, we're in the zone. Like we're just fighting, just chasing each other. Like I had no idea. I'm not even paying attention to the valet. I'm just playing with him. And then CP comes up, he was like, here you go, bro. And I'm like, and then I started looking around and I'm like, and it's the car that I like showed his cousin. I'm like, no way. And I was just in awe. Like that's my guy. I seen him this past summer. Um, I seen him last season when I was able to go home one at a time. I went to one of the games in DC because I had a layover in DC before I went home.
That's incredible. You wound up playing almost 200 NBA games, including 7 playoff games. It is so hard to get to the NBA, to stick in the NBA. How proud are you of the fact that you made it? You played at the highest level for parts of 4 seasons.
Uh, I talk to my wife about it all the time. And I think the humility that's in me, like I don't even, not that I don't appreciate it, but I don't think I really even fathom it sometimes.
Mm.
Like I just did my job. I think it's the same thing in Cincinnati. Like, I think one of my buddies sent me a picture of like my name on the ground in front of Oscar. And I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. And that's kind of just my reality is like, until somebody sent me an old clip when I was in NBA, it's kind of like, it's like, eh, I'm like, wow, dang, that is kind of crazy. Like that's just that's just, I guess that's just who I am. I'm very thankful. Like I'm very appreciative, but it's always just been worked for me. And I'm just like, wherever I am, I just try to give it my all. So I think it like doesn't allow me to be in the moment, I think sometimes. But now that I'm like out of it in this point in my career, I'm like actually able to look back at some of the things I've done. I'm just like, that's kind of crazy.
Are you able to follow UC from afar?
I am. I am. I do. Um, I keep up with it. I got a lot of buddies that still live in Cincinnati, so they keep me very up to date on new recruits and new transfers. So, obviously I hear some of the, the negative of them being, you know, diehard UC fans, but I was once a player, so I just, that stuff just blows over. I'm like, yeah, I've read your tweets 100 times while I was there for 4 years. So, yes, I do keep up with them.
What coaches and former teammates are you in contact with the most?
Uh, Coach, uh, Coach Savino and Cronin, I would say. I probably talked to both of them about the same amount, you know, and teammates. I met one teammate, I think, like we talked about earlier, even keel, where everyone just kind of leaned on me for the balance. So I have relationships with all my teammates that I play with, like Octavius Ellis, Troy Copain, and Kane Broom came to my wedding this summer.
Hmm.
I talk to Trey Scott often, uh, Jacob Evans here and there. While we're in the league, we stay connected a lot. Um, but probably the most out of all those guys, I'll probably say Trey Scott.
Trey Scott was a lot like you. I mean, you two guys are very similar personalities, I would say. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. Both from the South. He eats raccoon, and I told him, I said that you have it. You have the Southern boy, whatever. I took it. I held it on for a while, but I said after he told me about the coon, I said you got it.
Yeah, that's you mentioned having a adventurous palate in Japan, but that's one thing that I'm sure you're not going to eat while you're over there. Do you
No, sir.
remember? Yeah, do you remember current UC head coach Wes Miller trying to get you to come to UNC Greensboro when you were in high school?
Yes, yes, I do. I actually drove me and my best friend at the time up for an unofficial visit, and we watched them play. Showed me the locker room. That was my second unofficial visit. I went to UNCW the year before, and then UNC Greensboro um, was my second unofficial. And it was like Coach. I love Coach. Like, I mean, we had a great relationship just throughout the recruitment process. Greensboro and Raleigh Clayton was just only about 2.5 hours from each other. So I think I seen him more than his staff more than a lot of other North Carolina schools.
He told me a story about flying to, I think it was Los Angeles, to see you play in some event. At this point, he thinks that he's right in the hunt, maybe even the leader in trying to get you to go to UNC Greensboro. And then you played so well in this event, he knew he was done. It was like, did you have to play that well? Does that
Yeah,
ring a bell at all?
yeah, no, that's accurate. That's very accurate. I think he wasn't the only one. I think a lot of other schools did, and I think that's when Coach Cronin and them like, okay, we got to get in on this guy because I remember our game was like just flooded with coaches. I had Theo Pinson and a couple other like 5-star recruits on my team, and I ended up like I was our best player that weekend with all these scouts and coaches. And I remember Coach telling me he was going to be there. And afterwards, I remember telling my mom, like, Mom, I had a good tournament. I don't know if they'll still be around after that.
How much time did you spend fishing while you were a Bearcat?
Um, I would only fish during the summer. I would go to Mr. Joe Frederick in Kentucky. Uh, we'd shoot. Coach took us over there one time to fish, and then me and him started working out. That's where I really started developing my 3-point shot. Was with him during the summers, and then he would let me come over to his house and fish, but not as much as I wanted to. I've actually gone back and fished like 2, 3 years ago. I went fishing with my stepfather in Kentucky um, with one of the boosters. That's like one of my best friends, like by far one of my best friends. Like after I finish, he always keeps up with me. We text often, And, we went fishing in the middle of nowhere, Kentucky. I don't even know the name of the town, but uh, not as much as I would like to.
I know it's something that you love to do along with hooping. So you're still young in my book. Maybe it doesn't feel that way sometimes when you're grinding on the court, but how long do you want to keep playing?
I told my mom and my wife, for me to say, hey, I'm done in 2, 3 years is like, I feel like it's disrespectful to I'm blessed, I'm healthy, haven't had any major injuries, but I'm definitely not going to turn and say the other thing and say I'm going to play forever because I'm not. Good Lord bless me, hopefully another 4 or 5 years, Um, so that's the goal, probably like 3 to 5 years.
And what's after that? Do you know? Will you coach? Will you stay in basketball in some way?
Um, I believe I'll coach. I think I've gotten a lot of my peers, a lot of my former coaches have all kind of asked that question. They're very curious about my after basketball because they all want me to get in coaching because they see how well I can lead and teach. But, I haven't really looked into coaching. But I think it'll be something that I would probably gravitate to is getting on staff somewhere and seeing where it goes, Who knows?
What do you think's more likely, college or pro?
Um, Honestly, college, you know, I've seen the, I wouldn't deny either if the opportunity came, but if I had a choice, I'd probably say college because I feel like you connect with the kids more. The NBA is like, it pays well, but it would probably be more fast rollover on, having harder to build good relationships with those guys who kind of in and out, in and out, in and out. So probably college.
All right, I'm going to wrap this up by running off a list of accomplishments and superlatives, and I want you to tell me which of these things means the most to you.
Okay.
You hold the UC record for most games started, 137 starts. You're third all-time in rebounding. You were the two-time defensive player in the conference. You were the player of the year in the conference your senior year, and you earned your UC degree. So of all of those things, what means the most to you?
I would say my UC degree because I was the first person in my family to get a college degree. I would say that was pretty big time, and after that would be the rebounding one because I came in, that's all I knew, and it worked out for me.
Led the team in rebounding every year of your career. You're one of only two guys to do that, so I could have spotlighted that as well.
Oh, dang, I didn't even know that. That's
Yeah.
a new one. Wow. Dang.
Well, I should backtrack. You're one of only two players in history to lead the team in rebounding 4 straight years. There may have been somebody back before you could only play 3 that did it 3 straight, but you and Yancey Gates are the only two guys to do it for 4 straight years.
Oh, wow. Yeah. See, you telling me something I don't know. You're giving me new information.
Something to share with your teammates in Japan. Gary, this has been awesome. It's so great to see you and hear you. I hope you make it back to Cincinnati sometime relatively soon so we can see each other face to face. Thanks for staying up late. It's a 14-hour time difference between where I am right now and where you are right now. So thank you so much. Stay healthy. Have a great remainder of the season. Congratulations on the wedding, and I hope we have the opportunity to chat again sometime soon.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, Dan. You have a good one. We'll definitely be in touch. I'll be in Cincinnati this summer.